Good morning. We are 1 minute out from starting. So, welcome to our gratitude Thanksgiving weekend yoga class. It's an all class. Just while we're waiting last minute, if you're getting set up, if you're already set up, feel free to take a moment. I'm grateful here today. You might not be watching this live, so there's a few of you who are watching this live right now. This will be recorded and on my YouTube channel, so you might be watching it after the fact, and I'm grateful that you took a look at it and picked it up. So let's get comfortable on our mat in a seated position. And if we haven't already done so, just take a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for. And it's the fact that you made it to this class today. Maybe it's the fact that the sun is shining today. Maybe we got up and felt good today. It can be anything, and it doesn't have to be big. Science has shown that when we show gratitude, and we have gratitude for even the most basic things in our lives, we are overall happier people and we have a more positive outlook on life. So gratitude is a very important. I recommend, if you've been to my workshops and classes before, that we have a gratitude journal or a gratitude practice where we either just think about or write down up to 3 things that we're grateful for every single day. I like to do it before I go to bed. And sometimes it's as simple as having a wonderful warm bed to sleep in. Like I said, it doesn't have to be anything big. Sometimes there are big things in our lives that we're grateful for. We got a new job, or we have additional members to our families, or whatever the case may be. But just finding those positive little things every single day can have a huge impact on our mental health. So I wanted to do this gratitude practice today. And we're going to reflect on the things that we're grateful for. Throughout class, we're going to reflect on the gratitude we have for this practice and our ability to move our bodies through this. Finish and join in when you're ready. Otherwise, you can come back to it maybe even after class, after you've had a moment to reflect, after our final relaxation. So getting ourselves into a seated position, if we're not already there, it can be any seated position. I just have one leg in front of the other. It can be crisscross applesauce. You can have legs in front, whatever's comfortable to you. Take a moment to really feel those sits bones. And I kind of like to move fleshy stuff out of the way. So I'm really grounded and I'm sitting up nice and tall on those bones that we sit upon. Allow yourself to grow a little bit taller. So we want to free up this space so we can take nice, nourishing breaths. Let's inhale. Imagine that there's a zipper kind of drawing up our spine, holding us up a little bit taller, and then it continues through the crown of the head like a string, holding us up, attaching us to the universe. And then inhale, pick up your shoulders, exhale, set them down again. So keep that length, allowing your body to soften at the same time. Let's find our breath. Inhaling through nose, exhaling through nose or mouth, whatever feels better. And while you breathe here, a few breaths just to get used to focusing on our breath. Maybe think about those things that you wrote down or thought about that you're grateful for. And as you exhale, send them out to the world. If they're people, maybe send out that vibe so that they know that you're grateful for them. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Setting the intention for our practice to be grateful for whatever movement we can muster today, any space we can create in our body, any lengthening or strengthening we can find. When you're ready, let's start to get some movement. We have this beautiful spine. You can really see it in my friend Simon here. From the hips and from the ribcage, let's start to make some circles. And you can just place your hands on your lap or on the floor. And just start to notice your spine moving through space. We have this beautiful spine that allows us to move in so many directions. And we want to maintain a healthy spine throughout our lives so we have good movement and good quality of life as we age. So we want to make sure that we use it in all the directions that it moves. So these circles allows us to kind of move. We move forward and back. We move side to side. We get a little bit of rotation, which we're going to play with a little bit later. So just kind of waking up the spine, the body, starting to get things moving. Whenever you're ready, changing direction, just when it feels kind of natural. And just noticing if this side feels different. It might not. We might have one side where we don't go as far, or we might not have noticed it all, and that's okay too. Sometimes it's just nice to have awareness so that we can take care of things that maybe we need to take care of. So if we find we're tight somewhere, we can stretch. If we find we're weak somewhere, we can strengthen. Good. Let's come back to sitting up nice and tall. Take a breath here. Inhale, lift up, exhale, let the shoulders come down. We're going to play with a little bit of rotation here. So I just want you to pick up your hands so you're not using them. Inhale, grow a little bit taller, and then let your rib cage as you exhale just turn to one side. And then your hands can just kind of fall down here. This is where your body naturally rotates to. And we're not going to force it any further than that. We're just warming up the body right now. Let's take an inhale or two here. And then inhale back to center. Don't touch. Exhale, let the rib cage turn the other way. And then just let your hands kind of come to rest. And you might notice you get further on one side than the other. And that's just something to acknowledge, that maybe we have a little more tightness on one side than the other. And that's just something we can work on, or just acknowledge and listen to our body as we move. Good. Let's get a little bit of a flow going. Inhale, let's reach up. Exhale, let's come to one side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, come to the other side. Just flow this a few times. Just letting your body naturally rotate and just feeling grateful for this lovely movement that our body affords us. It lets us do our everyday activities, play sports, lift and carry things. One more time to each side, following your own breath. And then just come to center. Let the hands float down. We might even circle out the wrists if that feels good. And just take a breath or two here. So a nice tabletop position. Again, my friend Simon's kind of in that position as well as he can be, showing off for us. We want our wrists underneath shoulders or even slightly ahead so we don't put pressure on them. Spread the fingers like starfish hands, and then start hips over top of our knees, getting a little more movement through the spine. So inhale, we're going to arch through cow. Exhale, we're going to round through cat, and just flowing that. So just noticing again how our spine moves here. Holding the belly gently to protect the spine as we move, letting the muscles around the spine, the core, do all the movement. So we're not pushing the belly out. We're gently holding to get power. Now, if you want a little bit more here, this isn't a levels class, we can start to curl those toes. And as we exhale, pick the knees up just a little bit and lift the abdominals a little bit more up towards the spine. So almost like you're doing a crunch upside down. Fingertips are strong here, so we're not resting on the wrists. And as we lift up, whether we're lifting knees or not, try to get that sense of drawing up, separating shoulder blades. Let's just do a couple more here. Last time through. And then come back to that tabletop position. Let's take the right hand forward, fingertips out. Left foot, toe tips out. Other foot can flatten if you prefer that. I do. We can stay right here. If this is challenging to us, we want to keep this hip square. So we're not turning and opening. There's no rotation here. We're keeping the core engaged. And then if we're able to, we lift up the arm and leg. Getting as long as we can. Like someone's pulling on our fingertips, somebody's pulling on our toe tips. We're nice and strong where we're connected to the earth, our foundation, always in our movement. Engage with the core. So gently lifting the abdominals here, making sure that hip is square, and then we can lift up and lengthen. Even the neck, right through the crown of the head. We want to try to get the body nice and long here, spinal balance, which wakes up and engages the core. Let the breath come and go. One more breath here. Good. Let's lower down and just shift back. Now you can come to puppy dog pose high up here on the forearms, just like Simon behind me. He can't quite bend all the way back. So we can, if we like, we can bend all the way back to what I call resting pose. And you can take the knees a little bit wider. You can rock side to side here if that feels good. Our spine allows us to do that. We can get a little massage as we do it. You can even rest the forehead here. You can tuck the hands in. So this is your go-to pose, one of them, if you need to take a break and just chill out, relax. Of course, you can just sit or lie down and breathe. That is still doing yoga. For now, if you want to add movement, let's send the arms out as far as they go. Pick up the head, shift forward, come through our kneeling plank, keeping the elbows in fairly close so we keep them stacked so we don't flare them out. And then lower down. Let's find some length in the spine, almost as if we're dragging ourselves across the floor. And then just a little bit of a lift. So we're not pushing with the hands, we're letting the back do the work. And let's release down, push back to puppy dog or resting pose. And we're gonna start to get a little flow with that. We're gonna shift forward, elbows in fairly close, lengthen and lift. Release, push back, drawing the belly towards the spine, just protecting the back as we pull back, lengthen. We might start to lift a little bit higher here. So just flowing this a few more times. You might even want to lift the legs as you come up a little bit. Play. Notice how your body moves. Good. Let's do one more. Really warming up the arms while we're here. And then take a breath or two in that puppy dog or resting pose. Your choice. And again, you can take the knees even wider. You can rock side to side. You can tuck in the hands. You can just bend the elbows. I like Namaste Shark on the elbows with the hands behind the head. One more breath here. And then send the arms out again as far as they'll reach. Fingertips are strong. We start to shift forward, but this time we curl the toes, pick up our knees, and forward facing dog. So finding some beautiful length in our back body and down dog. We push against the floor so we stretch the back. We can soften the knees a bit. We don't feel pull too much in the backs of the legs, but we can press the heels down a bit. Take a few breaths here. Head's just between the arms. Joints are soft. Again, belly's gently lifting, protecting our spine. When we engage the core, so that sensation of doing up that zipper or lifting our belly, it also gives us stability. So balance comes from our core. One more breath here, spending a moment upside down. Hopefully that feels good. And then we're gonna pick up the heels, roll up on the toes, bend the knees, and then just walk behind the hands, finding our first forward fold. And you might be ready to just hang here. I like to bend my knees and kind of rest on my legs. You can come up a little bit higher if that feels better. Just make sure the knees are a little bit soft. We can release head and neck here. We can shake, we can nod. Getting some pull, a little bit of pull in the backs of the legs. Nice stretch here. If we feel too much pull in the knees, bend them a little bit more. Our hamstrings attach behind the knees. So we want to just release that attachment a little bit. Press with the feet. Keep the knees really core engaged. And let's just walk up slowly. Use the legs to help you to find main pose. And take a few breaths here once you get to standing. So in mountain, feet are distance. Adjust if you need to. Take a moment to spread the toes. You can even rock on the feet a little bit to really maximize your foundation. How much is connected to the earth holding you up, like the basement of your house, right? Press down into the earth so we really engage the legs. We do that zipper up. We get a little bit taller. Relax the arms, but let them be strong here. So mountain is called mountain because we should feel strong, grounded, and movable. Really notice that strength in your body here. Be grateful for the strength that you have. And if we find, as we practice, we have areas where we need to build that strength, then be grateful that you have that awareness, that you have the ability to do it. We're just going to do a little flow here. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see my hips. If you have the space, take the arms out to the side and then just bring them down. Hips go down and back. If you don't have space, lift the arms up and bring them back down. So it just depends on your space, where you are right now. Hips go down and back. A little more weight in the heels, but we still want those toes down. Remember, that's the foundation, holding you up, grounding you. As we rise, really think about pushing the feet into the earth. Let the legs do the work here. Sometimes we let the back take over to do the work, but we really want to use the force of nature, basically. The earth, as we push, engage the leg muscles, we can feel them, allowing us to rise here, warming up those legs, warming up our arms as we move them just through space. Good, let's do one more. And then just come back to mountain. Take a few breaths here. If you're not at the top of your mat, make your way there. Feet hip distance, and I'm going to give you some options here. So if we are a beginner, we can have a chair in front of us or have our hands on the wall for a little bit of support and stability. Otherwise, I like to start with my hands on my hips. We're going to do a lunge, stepping backwards. And if we need to, so we can step back with the right leg, maybe a nice short stance, the knees don't bend much. We just start to get used to the movement. We step forward, change sides. So again, it can be a very narrow lunge, a little bit of bend in the knees to just start to get used to moving, pushing off, coming back up tall. If we want to start to challenge, we start to step back a little further, bend the knee, and sink a little bit. And this is where you can start to play with the arms. So I like to kind of counterbalance and then come up tall. So the further back you go, the lower you go, the more challenging this is going to be. If we need to just start out with basics, get used to moving, build strength, we keep it smaller. So range of motion can often help make things more challenging or less challenging, depending on what you're looking for in your practice and in everyday life. So we should be starting to feel nice and warm. Let's do one more on each side. Pause in our mountain again. And let's bring hands to hips. We're going to turn to face again. And notice the hips. So let's start to make some circles here. So noticing the pelvic bowl moving through space. So we did the spine already. Now the lower part of the body. So we can move in multi-directions here. You might notice you start to bend the knees a little bit, or maybe you don't. You stay a little bit taller and smaller. Play. Notice how your hips move, your tailbone moves, maybe how your knees move. Notice where you feel this. It can be freeing to move this way if we don't very often. And then change direction. Whenever you're ready, you can start the other way a little bit smaller, perhaps. Or maybe start to get a little bigger in your movement. Keep that breath flowing. So we're just kind of loosening up all these connection points in our body, creating some space, getting things to move maybe in directions that they don't move very often, so we can get some nice nourishment and lubrication happening. Let's come back to stillness. Pause. So you should still be at the top of your mat. I moved away. In our mountain pose, let's sweep the arms up. Let the palms touch at the top. Pull them down as you come to chair. Bring them to heart center. Let's take a couple or a few breaths here. So hips down and back. We should be nice and long from tailbone to spine here. Abs gently lifting in, that sensation of doing up our zipper. And then with our next exhale, bringing the hands to thighs or even just diving into your forward fold. Head. And then we're going to soften the knees. Let the fingertips come down so you have a little bit of support. And bring the left leg back. We're going to push with the feet to come all the way up to our high lunge. And this is one of those poses too, where if you're just starting out, you can even do this sitting on a chair and just spread your legs across the chair. You can be holding on to something as well. The closer you have the feet together, the less challenging it's going to be. And using our legs in this way. To challenge, we can step back and a little bit more. We want that core engaged so we have stability. And from side to side, we want the legs to be hip distance. If we bring this foot behind, we lose our base, we get wobbly. So if you need to, take that leg out a little bit wider. Take a few breaths in this lunge. Hands can come wherever we like. If you want to add more, you can start to bend the knees. We go straight down, straight up. As you come up, push the feet into the ground, just like we did earlier, to really engage the legs to build strength to draw up. You can use the exhale as we rise or as we sink, whatever feels better to you. Let's do one more. Pause at the top, and then we're just going to spin the back heel down. Now you might have to shift. So if we had this narrow stance, we can stay narrow, but if you want to experience something a little bit wider, don't be afraid to move your feet around. Warrior one. Front knee's bent, making sure the knee's not pushing past the toes. Over top of the ankle is nice to keep our joints stacked. Back leg is on a bit of an angle. We're pushing the pinky toe edge of that foot in. So we're grounded with both legs. We're not dumping everything into this front leg. And then the body just turns. So we explored movement. Palms can be together. We can reach up. We can have wide arms. Hands can be on hips. We might notice they're not square. Breathe here. And you can stay right here on this pose, just focusing on the feet pressing into the earth, maybe kind of like they're pulling towards each other to really strengthen the legs, or we can start to add some dynamic movement. So for that, I like to come to what I call cactus or goalpost arms. We're going to press with the feet, lift the arms up, and then pull back down. So just getting some dynamic movement so we can notice how the body moves through space. To make this more challenging, we don't come up all the way. So if we come up all the way, just make sure you don't lock the knee, but we can keep it a really small range of motion to make this a little more challenging so that we keep the muscle activated through the entire movement. As we come up, sometimes we can just take that little breather. You might even want to pause here if the legs are getting tired. Listen to your body. Let's do one more. End with the knee bent. And then we're going to straighten the front leg and just lean over the leg. Let the hands come to our thigh. Pyramid pose. So a little bit of a stretch for the back of this leg. We want to lengthen the spine here. So I get nice and long from tailbone to the crown of the head. We're lifting abdominals to support the spine as we bend over here. Think about growing longer in the spine as opposed to folding deeper. Toes are spread, feet are nice and strong here. And again, a sense that we're kind of almost pulling them towards each other. That might help with support with your base. Stay right here. Again, this is an all levels class, so listen to your body today. More, we're going to bend the knee so we can reach towards the ground and pick up that back leg. So a standing split. So a little bit of balance here, right? We're on one leg, not two. Fingertips can be here for a little bit of support. If we want to challenge our balance a bit, one hand or maybe both hands come to our ankle, which will make that ankle probably wobble a little. That's building strength in your ankle, so it's good for it. Sharp pain, not good. Bring the hands down, come out of the pose if you need to. All right. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, it should be your right foot forward, so your right hand stays on the ground. If you did the opposite, it's just the opposite. And then we can start to open up to our half moon pose. So the left side of the body pulls up. You can stay looking at the floor to ground yourself. When you start to shift your gaze to the side or up, you challenge your balance a little bit more. So listen to your body. Breathe. So if we came to this half moon, let's come back down. If we're in standing split, we want the fingertips on the ground and we're just going to let the leg come down to our forward fold. If you stayed in this pyramid pose, you're just going to bring the fingertips down and step forward. So wherever you are, we're going to end up in this forward fold. Take a few breaths here. You can clasp elbows if that feels good. You can hold on to big toes for a little bit of traction. So you can lift up the hips a little higher here, get some stretch. Take one more big breath. Inhale. Slow exhale. And then soften the knees, scoop the belly. Let's use the legs to help walk us all the way up to standing mountain pose. Take a breath or two here. Just ground yourself again. Recover. Take a few breaths. Good. I'm just going to switch ends of the mat so I'm still facing camera as we get moving. You stay where you are, or you can change. So inhale, we're going to sweep up. Palms touch at the top. Find our chair, palms at heart center. So we're doing everything on the other side now. Just pausing here, gently lifting abdominals, length from tailbone to crown. Even if we sink, we maintain that length. If we pull back, we maintain that length. Shoulders relax. And then with our next exhale, either hands to thighs, or we can just dive to that forward fold. Good, softening knees, fingertips come down, right leg back this time. And we're gonna press up to that high lunge here. So again, let's revisit. The shorter the stance, the less challenging. We can just work on the stance, work on being in this position. The further back we go, we can start to challenge a little bit. Heel is lifted, hips are square. We can find those hip points. Hands wherever we like. You can have them up, you can have them down. You can stay in this lunge, sometimes just standing here. If we've not done this very much, we're working on our strength. Just standing here builds leg strength. If we want more, we can start to add that bend and press back up. So we come straight down, press. I like to really spread my toes here on both feet so I can really push against the floor to rise, to use those legs to build strength. Again, making sure feet are hip distance apart so we don't have that, I call it the surfer's wobble. Good, just a couple more. If we're moving, otherwise we're just breathing. We're gonna come to the top of our lunge, spin that heel down, and find our warrior one on this side. And this is where you might have to change. So maybe you had a shorter stance, wider, vice versa. Strong feet here, pinky toe edge of that foot pressing down. So this leg is really strong. I often see kind of this knee collapsing and the foot a little bit wobbly on the floor. That means we're putting a lot of pressure on this leg, and it's not great for the knee and the back leg. So we really want to push that foot into the floor. That leg will straighten. You should feel it in your glute. All right? Let that body turn as far as it lets you. We're all different. You might see some people turn straight on. I don't. Some people might be in the space a little bit more. It also depends on the position of that back foot and your hip. So just allow it to settle in your own space. Front knees bent, nice and safe over top of the ankle. Take a few breaths here. Whew, I'm working up a sweat. And then we can start to add, if we like, that dynamic movement. So we can find our cactus arms here, press with the feet. We reach up, and then pull down. So breathing and flowing here, keeping that back leg engaged, nice and strong. So all the work is coming in the front leg while that back leg just supports us. And you're going to notice that leg is working too to hold us here, nice and strong, right? We can even focus a little more on upper body. And as we pull the arms down, notice where we can squeeze. Not what you're squeezing, just notice, be aware of what you can squeeze. Meeting our warrior one. Take a little pause here. And then we're gonna start to straighten that front leg and just bring the hands to the thighs. That's as far as we're gonna go. Because I really want you to focus on lengthening the spine from the hips. So we often see people fold, pose, and sometimes it compromises the back. So I want you to really focus on lifting the abdominals, support the spine, and then lengthen. Like you're trying to reach the head like a turtle coming out of its shell. We try to get forward. And then just have the hands light on the leg. Both feet are strong here. Like we're trying to draw them together. So we're really engaging those legs to hold us here. Some nice deep breaths. There's a lot going on. I'm throwing a lot of words at you. Otherwise, just enjoy the poses. And like I said, if you need to do something else, just being in this space breathing is still doing yoga. So of course you can stay here if this stretch is really delightful to you. You can stay right here. Otherwise, we can bend the knee, reach forward, find that standing split on this side. Good, and you can also do this standing. So you can have your hands on the base of a chair for a little more stability as you lift your leg. You can also test your balance or challenge your balance by bringing one or both hands to the ankle. Or we can open up the right side and find our half moon pose. So lots of options here. Listen to your body. Breathe. If we did come to that half moon, let's bring that hand down. If we have hands to ankles, let's bring fingertips down. Let's find our forward fold wherever we are coming from and take a few breaths here. We can clasp elbows. Again, we can use the feet, maybe tuck the hands underneath to find gorilla pose. So the big toes rest on the pads of our thumbs where they connect to our palm. Make it your own. You can sigh, make a sound, blubber the lips, even swear if you need to with your exhale. Let's do one more breath here. If you're using the hands, release them. Soften the knees, scoop the belly. We're just going to walk or roll all the way up. Take your time. No rush to mountain pose. And then take a few breaths here. Regroup, adjust clothing, grab water. Take a moment maybe to reflect on our intention for class before we started. Maybe setting a new intention, maybe focusing on what we were grateful for, maybe something new that came up. So maybe we just did something we've never done before. Be grateful that our body can move in that way and we're learning new things, keeping the body healthy. Good. So we're going to come to a little more balancing moves, and you can move any that you want to be here. Hip distance. So we're grounded, and again, I like to just make sure I spread the toes, and I've got full connection with the earth in this stance. I like to start with my hands on my hips, but you can have them anywhere you like for stability. We're going to shift our weight to one foot, and then we're going to take the other foot and just turn it out to the side. So knees and toes are pointing in the same direction. It might be straight out to the side, so you have a 90-degree angle. It might be somewhere in between this space. You just want the knees and toes facing the same direction. All right. We're going to pick up that foot, bring above the ankle. So we're setting our base for tree pose. This is our base, our home base. If we get into a different version of this, we can come back here. We have a little more connection to the earth. So we're a little more grounded. You can even put this foot back down. All right. And like I said, hands anywhere you like. I'm going to bring mine palms to heart center. For a little bit more, we start to lift this foot. So the foot can come to the shin. We just want to make sure we're not pushing on a joint. So it's below the knee, above the ankle. For a little bit more, and this sometimes can be dependent on what you're wearing and if you put lotion on your feet. But for a little bit more, we can pick up that foot and bring it above the knee. And then we can maybe open up our branches if we like. Breathe here. So that supporting leg, remember I said core engagement helps with our balance, with stability. Finding a spot to stare at will help you with your focus and concentration here. You might still wobble. You might come out of the pose, build it back up again to where you need to be, which might be with both feet on the ground still. Let the shoulders relax wherever the arms are. One breath if you can. And then gently allow yourself to come out of the pose. You might want to shift that ankle that just did a lot of work for you. You're building strength in that ankle. And we're going to move to side two, which might look different than side one. And you probably did your good side first. So this could look very different. Might be a totally different tree. That's okay. We just recognize that, and then we work on building strength on this side if we need to, or the other, depending. Spread the toes, grow roots. Place the four corners of your foot into the mat. So you're shifting your weight. As soon as you shift your weight predominantly to one foot, you're balancing because you're not in homeostasis with both feet down, right? So you can just be here. Maybe just lift the knee. For tree pose, we're going to start to turn and open that hip. Remember, it can be in this space anywhere as long as knees and toes are in the same direction. That keeps them safe. We can put the ankle or the heel above the ankle. Hands where we like. Open wide, kind of distributes the weight so we have a little more stability. Up higher is more challenging because the body has more to hold up, okay? We can pick up that foot, making sure it's below the knee, above the ankle. And then we might pull that foot up above the knee joint. We can spread our tree branches. You'll notice I'm a little more wobbly on this side Check in with your core. Find your drishti, your focal point, something that's not moving. Really focus on pressing that foot into the earth. Remember, that's your trunk. Grow roots. Ground yourself. Find strength. Find strength from within. It's in there. You got it. Take deep breaths. You might come out and in a few times. That's okay. You're working on your balance. Just keep working on it. It's one of the first things we lose as we start to age. You want to maintain your balance to prevent falls. Let the shoulders relax. 2 more breaths here if you can. Your branches might blow in the wind like mine are. And then gently make your way out. Shake out if you need to. All right. Tell your body it just did a great job. Okay. And then you're going to find anything that you need to work on to build strength, to maintain your balance so that we age with grace, with strength. Find the top of your, find that mountain pose again. Take a breath there. Be grateful for what you just did. And anything that we just did, let me just reiterate, you can do with hand lightly on a chair for a little bit of support and stability as you work on your balance, or that might be where you need to be, and that's okay. You're still working on your balance. For now, let's inhale, sweep up, palms touch. Find our chair, palms at heart center. We can send the arms out here for a little more challenge, or we can lengthen along the ear here. So lengthening the arms engages a little more core because we've lengthened the lever. The core has to hold in space. We still want length from tailbone to crown of the head. Hips are moving back. It might be more of a lightning bolt if we need to be there, or we might be sinking if we want to be there. One more breath. And then we find our forward fold, hands to thighs. We can just dive into it. Take a breath or two. And then we're going to soften the knees, let the fingertips come down. Take that right leg back fairly wide and then spin the heel down. We're going to use the feet to push up and open up to warrior 2. So once I get up, I like to shift. I like to be wide in my warrior 2. So same as our other stances, the shorter your stance, the less challenging. So we start to work on just being in this position and gaining strength. The wider we get, the more we can start to sink and make it a little more challenging. Knee safe over top of ankle. I should be able to see just my big toe. Same as our warrior 1, this back leg is nice and strong, supporting us. Arms can open up. Palms can also be together at the heart. Just take a few breaths here. This is a warrior 2, feeling like a warrior, feeling strong, feeling grounded. Shoulders over top of hips here, core engaged. And we're going to use rotation in our spine in this position. I want you to try to stay as low as you can. So we're working those legs, but we're going to move the upper body to kind of take our mind off that. So the back arm is going to sweep around, half circle. And then like you're drawing a bow, open it back up. You can even follow it with your eye gaze. We sweep, rotate, using that rib cage, and then open back up. Let's do that 3 more times. Sweep, slowly draw open. Try to sink a little deeper as you draw open for these last 2. Good. Pause in your warrior 2. That leg is getting cranky. We want this one engaged so we're not dumping everything here. One more breath. Inhale. Slow exhale. And then let's straighten the leg. So you might need to bring them closer together. Otherwise, we can stay. We shift forward. And bring the hand lightly to the shin. I like to bring it and then sweep this arm around to open up to our triangle pose. That arm can stay up if that's uncomfortable for the shoulder. Bring it to the hip or low back. So here we're focusing on beautiful rotation in the rib cage. And if you need that somatic sense of where you are in space, you can touch the rib cage here and almost peel it open. So the shoulder faces the ceiling here. And then breathe. So feet are really strong. That's our base. So we're almost drawing the feet toward each other as we press them into the earth and kind of at the same time press out. It's a weird feeling, but it really engages our feet. Breathe. We can look up. That'll challenge our balance. Look down and ourselves. If we want some mobility for our shoulder, we can make a few big sweeping circles here. And then let's all take it to the low back and maybe roll that shoulder open a little bit for 2 more breaths here. Neck long wherever it is, looking up, looking down, neutral. Good. Start to soften the knee and then press with the feet to come back up to your warrior 2. So I've kept us mostly standing. I do that because I have a mixed group in this class. You can come back to just mountain pose and pause there if you like. Otherwise, if you want a little bit of a flow down and up, we're going to windmill to the top of our mat. Find down dog. Fingertips are strong. We're going to shift forward to plank. You can stay on the toes or come to the knees here. We lower, open up. So that's small, medium, or large cobra. Now inhale, you can release down if you like. Curl toes, exhale to down dog. And you can hang out here, just rest, or do that 2 more times. We shift forward to plank, toes or knees, elbows tuck. We lower, lengthen, open up. Now you can come down on the inhale if you like, or just exhale to down dog. Some people find that hard on the back, so I give you the choice. Shift forward to plank 1 more time, knees or toes. We lower, maybe come to upward facing dog this time. And then you find the exhale to get to down dog. Take a breath there. Bend those knees. Pick up right leg. Sweep it through. You might have your hand or take a bunch of little steps. Get it to the top of your mat. Feet hip distance. Spin that back heel down. Push the feet into the ground. So you're using the legs, not the back, to come up to your warrior 2 on the other side. I'm just going to turn around to face you. So again, we can pull back on the length of this pose if we need to. So it's a little less challenging if we're building strength. We can get a little wider and a little bit lower to challenge strength a bit more. Back leg nice and strong. It wins supporting actor. I say that lots in my class. Arms are strong, whether they're reaching out or pushing against each other. Let the shoulders release wherever you are. Breathe. Look for that big toe. And then finding that movement from our rib cage, from our spine. So try to stay low in the legs. We're going to take that back arm, sweep it around half circle, and then gently, like you're pulling back a bow and arrow, open up. And we breathe and flow. You can watch your fingertips with your eye gaze. So we're very mindful. Maybe sink a little bit more as we open up for these last 2. Noticing that rib cage turn. We pull back, long arms here, or hands pressing. 1 more breath here. Nice big inhale. Exhale. Straighten that front leg. You might need to shorten your stance. Listen to your body. Let's shift forward as if we're reaching for something. And then we tip and sweep the arm under to find our triangle. I find that's easier on the shoulder joint. So sometimes people will just sweep the arm up or pick the arm up. And I find this nice sweep coming from below allows the shoulder to rotate and socket. So it doesn't get that pinchy type feeling as we lift it up. So I just find a gentler way to open the shoulder. If you have a different way and you prefer it, you do you. That's what I like. Again, we're focusing on that rotation, opening up, making sure we're not pushing on this leg. That's going to hurt your knee. So that's why I say a light touch. If you have a block, that's ideal in this pose in particular, or just hand resting in front. Eye gaze, wherever you like, down to ground, up to challenge balance. Breath flowing here. Maybe a few circles to release that shoulder if that feels good. And then let's all take that arm behind our back, if we're not there already, and kind of roll that shoulder open a bit more if we can. So we're creating space in our front body here. One more breath here. And then soften the knee, push with the feet. Find your warrior two. One breath here. Windmill to the top of your mat. Find down dog. And we can do that little flow again 3 times if you're up for it. Otherwise, you can rest. We shift forward to plank, tuck, lower through chaturanga. You can come all the way down to cobra or upward facing dog. Use the exhale, brace the belly as you lift. 2 more times if you like. Flowing at your own pace. If you can sneak in a few more, feel free. Good. Let's do one more. I just feel like doing one more. I like this. And let's all come to puppy pose or resting pose. Feel free to circle out the wrists. You can stack the hands or fists here, rest the forehead. You can rock. If shoulders need a break, you can take them alongside. Kind of tuck yourself in. Namaste Shark is often a favorite. Feel the breath. So in this position, we can really feel the ribs expand in the back body. Notice that expansion. Notice the ribs opening up to the side, like you're breathing like a shark. And then release, maybe tuck in a little bit more, maybe sink in. So we find a nice release in the low back, maybe a little bit in the middle of the back. Tadasana. One more breath here. Good. And then just come forward onto your belly. So we're going to do a little bit of work for the back here. And similar to what we did at the beginning of class, hands underneath our shoulders. If you need a little more support, you can come to Sphinx on the forearms. But we want the back to do the majority of the work here. So I find the hands here just help with that a little bit. So you can find that length, like you're trying to drag yourself across the floor to create some space, but you're not really moving. You just want to get some space so that we lift. And then we don't feel that pinchy feeling. Sometimes we lift right away and you get that little pinch in your low back. We just want to come back down, create a little bit of room. And so again, back is doing all the work. We should be able to pick up the hands and you might even just pick them up. We can lift the legs. Legs will engage a little bit more of the glutes and the hamstrings. So if we want to really focus on the back, we keep the feet down. So if we have lower back problems, if we need to build strength in our back, lots of times we work on our abdominals because we can see them. We want this elusive six-pack. We forget about the opposing muscle group. So we want to work on those to keep them strong. And so we're balanced. So if your abs are stronger than your back, they're going to pull and then you're going to have back problems. All right. So we want that nice balance everywhere in life, right? Good. Let's lower down, stack the hands, fists, rest the chin or forehead. You can bend the knees, a little reverse windshield wipe if that feels good. And then we're just going to do that one more time. So we're going to lower the legs, hands underneath shoulders. Find that length before you lift. I'm going to keep my feet down. I'm going to work on strengthening my back today. Maybe pick up the hands for a little bit more. We lengthen the lever. So as the arms go out, your back has more it has to hold up. So that makes it more challenging. So if it's too much, tuck the arms back in. 2 more breaths here if we can. Neck is long. Good job. Lower down. Push back to a quick puppy dog or resting pose. Just a breath. And then we're going to pick ourselves up and flip ourselves over so we're seated again. Legs in front. Find those sits bones. You'll notice I move stuff out of the way. Zipper does up. So we're sitting here nice and tall as we can. Imagine you have a book on top of your head and you don't want it to slide off. You can, even if you have one of those foam yoga blocks, because they're not heavy and they're actually not too slidey, you can put them on your head to help you stay up nice and tall here. We can lift up shoulders and release them down. Hands on thighs or beside us, in front a little bit or right along. And then we're going to flex the feet a little bit. So we pull the toes up Enough that we feel the legs engage here, but the knees are still soft and the heels are still on the floor. So this is our modified staff pose. And it doesn't look like much when you're looking at a yoga pose, but if you really are engaged, your core is on, you're nice and tall, your legs are engaged, to hold this for a long time is challenging. If we want a little more challenge, we pull the arms up alongside ears, and palms can face the front, they can face each other, whatever feels good. Try to go tall, right through the crown of the head, right up through the fingertips if the arms are lifted. Just gazing forward. So the neck is long. So we're not looking up, we're looking forward. We're getting that length, almost like somebody's pulling our head up. Wouldn't that be nice for a nice neck stretch? Oh. 2 more breaths here if we can. Like I said, this can be challenging if we hold this for a long time. We're working on core strength here. A little bit of leg strength with those feet flexed like this. Good. Release the feet, release the arms down. We're going to come to a quick little reverse plank or mongoose pose. I'm going to give you the choice. So hands are slightly behind them, elbows pointing back, same direction as our wrists. So if we need to turn hands out, I prefer this way if I'm turning them out. Elbows are in the same direction as the wrists. So we stack our joints, okay? Legs are just a little bit released. You can even let the big toes touch each other in this one. I like that for a little stability. We're gonna take a nice big inhale and exhale, just push against the floor. Lift, open up the rib cage and draw shoulders down. So if we spend a lot of time sitting, this is a pose that's gonna stretch the front body. Core is engaged, so we can really lengthen the spine safely. If we want a little bit more, we're gonna start to pick the hips up off the floor and we might even roll them up to reverse plank. So that's where we really stretch the fronts of the shoulder and it's a little bit more upper body strength. So that's why I did that in layers. So mongoose is your go-to, a low lift to start until you can get the strength and the space to lift up and open up into this reverse plank. Breathe. 2 more breaths, wherever you end up or ended up. Neck is long. Good. Lower down. Bend the knees. Maybe place the hands under you to help you roll down onto your back. And anytime we're on the back, so we have about 8 minutes left in class, you can stay right here or come here anytime you like. Maybe a little windshield wipe. That feels nice on the back. We could just lie here for the rest of class, but I'm going to give you a few more poses. But feel free to just lie here. It's your class. If you're doing some more poses, though, let's come back to stillness. Moving into bridge. So feet hip distance, I like mine wider. I like a nice base on my bridge. Neck check. We have that nice natural curve in our neck. So the chin is not tucked in and it's not lifting up too high, just neutral. Hands by our sides, spread the toes. Inhale and then exhale, we push. So making a bridge with our body. Pressing the feet so we can engage posterior chain. We're squeezing the backside to open up the front of the body. If we want a little bit more, we can interlace the hands underneath us, and it might give us a little more space as we get kind of traction from the shoulders here. So I'm turning to look at the, don't do that. Keep your neck neutral and just keep looking up. We don't want to hurt our neck. Breathe. Good. For a little bit more, we can come up onto the toes and lift the heels here. Again, it creates some space. Or place the heel down, lift one leg. Trying to keep. Take a couple breaths if we've lifted that leg. And then lower it down and switch sides so we're even. You might notice one side's easier to lift than the other. Just be aware of it. We can work on strengthening as we get off our mat. Release that leg down. One more breath for all of us. And then gently release yourself down. Let's hug the knees in as a nice counter stretch for the back here, for the glutes. You can rock if that feels good. Let's place the left foot down. Cross the right ankle at the knee and gently move the right knee away from us. So we open that hip a little bit. You might stretch in the glute a little bit. Think about pressing the tailbone into the earth to see if that creates a little more space. You might feel that sensation, you might not. You can stay here. if this is enough of a stretch, or we can pick up the left leg and hold on to it. Some people like to really just keep drawing that knee in, kind of tucking in to feel a little more stretch in this the right bent leg. Some people like to lift this leg. I find it kind of takes away from the stretch. So just you do you. A few deep breaths here. Good. Place the left leg down. If you did pick it up, open up the arms and just let this foot that's up in the air drift down towards the floor. It might touch, might not touch. Just a little twist here. You can turn the head the other direction to get a little stretch in the neck if that feels good. One more breath here. If you're doing this, let's lift the legs up and change sides first. So uncross, recross side two. You can move that knee out with your hand like you're opening a gate, and then tip the tailbone, push it into the floor a little bit. See if that creates space. And then if we want a little bit more, we can pick up this leg. Doing this video on the recording after the fact, if there's any pose that you want to hold for a longer period of time, I'm throwing a lot of poses at you in this 1 hour class. Feel free to pause the video and just hold it longer and then start it back up again whenever you're ready. And that goes for all my videos on this channel or on my website, wherever you're doing them with me. Let's place this foot down if we lifted it up. Open up the arms. Let that foot that's up in the air. We find a nice twist here. Feeling grateful for our spine and all it does. We can turn the head the other way. One more breath here. And then lifting up the legs, finding final relaxation. Traditionally, you can come to that constructive rest if that feels better. You can let the knees knock against each other. Any other position that you want to be in for the next 5-ish minutes. You can even come back to seated or sit in a chair. Throw a blanket over yourself if that feels good, or use any props. I'm coming up to a seated position just to kind of talk you through this last little bit of class. So get settled. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale right down to the lowest part of the body that you can. Get that sense that the entire torso, the low part of the belly is expanding with that breath. The rib cage moves out, and then let it all come out slowly through the nose if you can. That helps to calm the body. And we're going to finish this gratitude practice with a little poem that I tend to read every year when I do this gratitude practice, and I really like it. So I like to bring it back every class just to bring us some focus. The author is unknown, and it's called Be Thankful. Be thankful that you don't already have everything you desire. If you did, what would there be to look forward to? Be thankful when you don't know something, for it gives you the opportunity to learn. Be thankful for the difficult times. During those times, you grow. Be thankful for your limitations, because they give you opportunities for improvement. Be thankful for each new challenge, because it will build your strength and character. Be thankful for your mistakes. They will teach you valuable lessons. Be thankful when you're tired and weary, because it means you've made a difference. It's easy to be thankful for the good things. A life of rich fulfillment comes to those who are also thankful for the setbacks. Gratitude can turn a negative into a positive. Be thankful for your troubles, and they can become your blessings. As we continue to breathe here, let's just circle back to what we were grateful for at the beginning of class. And take a moment to think about why. we're grateful for those things. And maybe we've added during class a few more things to that list. I'll just give you a few moments here to think about your why. That really strengthens the connection, the bond. When we add the why to what we're grateful for, it makes it that much more powerful. It really solidifies those feelings of gratitude, strengthens the connection that we have to whatever those things or that thing is. As we come to a close in this practice, feel free to stay here in final relaxation as long as you want to. Perhaps after class, take some time for yourself to journal or meditate or reflect. I'm going to seal this practice. You can seal it whenever you're ready by bringing palms to heart center. And I have so much gratitude for all of you who have supported me over the years and hopefully will continue to in the future. I have so much gratitude for the people I've met and the lives I've touched, and for you being here doing this class with me today. Namaste. Thank you so much again. I hope to see you in future classes. If you want to find out where I am, you can go to my website, superiorcoachingandwellnesssolutions.ca, and enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend, and see you soon.